to put in front of the camera is the biggest problem for us to solve when we're building a video or film project. Arguably, this is where the majority of film craft lies. From a simple piece to camera with some illustrative B-roll through to an experimental visual tone poem and everything in between, what we place in and what we omit from the frame is a creative decision that we make based on our project that we are building. Nothing on the screen in any film or video came from nowhere. Every shot and every edit was a decision to film that shot and place it in the edit in that way. Filmmaking is a little like making an omelette in this regard. Everyone starts with more or less the same ingredients, but everyone does it differently and no two will taste the same. However, there are various techniques and approaches that we can adopt to help us plan and craft our edits. Every filmmaker works differently and there is no single correct method for crafting your project, but the standard practices we're going to talk about in this video are useful to help you build a tool set that will help you craft and hone your edits and final films. We use a collection of shots to cover a scene. We move the camera from one setup to another, getting individual pieces of footage that we cut together to create a montage that will make up your movie. The kind of coverage you will get will vary from scene to scene depending on what you want to highlight from moment to moment. You must consider story points, the action and the emotion, and there is a myth that you can cover each scene with a wide, a medium and a close-up shot. But if you do this without thought, your audience might lose interest and the whole film might feel a little bland. A scene can be covered in one wide shot. Guy walks out of a restaurant, gets into his car. A medium shot might be all it takes to show someone go to a bank teller machine to make a withdrawal. You shouldn't get coverage just for the sake of doing it. You don't need 5 shots when one will do, so choose the shots that tell your story. If the guy going to the bank teller intends to rob the bank, then perhaps a close-up will reveal how sweaty his brow and his nerves prior to going through the door. As you get a grasp of the types of shots in a film, move on to learn about camera angles, composition, and when and how to use camera movement. All these things are good creative ways to help amplify your coverage and help you tell the story visually and viscerally so you too can make an impact. However, ensuring you have all that material, the material you require for your edit, is crucial for a successful day's shooting and your project as an overall whole. The worst edit is the one where you used every scrap of footage you filmed. This tied your hands and limited your choices in the edit. The second worst edit is the one where the shot you need doesn't exist because you didn't shoot it. This is frustrating and also inexcusable when you're a self-shooter and editor because you should be shooting with that edit in mind. Therefore, you should always consider that edit when we're shooting our footage. If you're filming a performance or you have control over the action, then this can be quite easy to control. Using tools such as storyboards and pre-vising that project with either an animatic or some stand-in proxy footage can again help ensure you have adequate coverage for that scene. But when working in a live event or documentary context, you may not have control over that action. You can't ask a musician to repeat that song so you can film the reverse angle of their live show, for example. In these scenarios, following some basic rules will help you both structure your final edit and ensure you have full coverage of that scene. So here are some structure rules of coverage to live by. They are rules of thumb and they are made to be broken. So, starting off with number 1. Always, always, always shoot more than you think you need. If you think you need 3 shots, get 5. If you think you need the 5 shots, get 7. As we've already said, the worst edit is the one where you've used every scrap of footage you filmed, so a lack of material will bind your creative decisions and the story is crafted in the editing process, so give yourself enough material to craft the best possible story. Rule 2. Always film for longer than you think. You may think a shot might be 10 seconds or 5 seconds, or you may think an action has finished, but always give yourself some salvage. Always film before you start action and always keep filming after an action is completed. If you're filming a live event, this is doubly so as you never know what's going to happen next, so always leave that camera running. It's digital after all. Give yourself more footage to play with. Rule 3. So these rules are now starting to think about what shots to use and how to structure that final edit. So start with a wide and move in. Start with a wide and establishing shots to set the place and the participants in your scene in action. Make sure you use different camera positions around, above and below the subject as well, starting with, say, an extreme wide shot or a wide shot to set that scene. Then move on to using a full shot to introduce your characters and the action, moving in closer still with a medium shot. And finally, use close-ups to show their expressions and any details of the actions that are going on, now that we have context to what those are. Rule 4. Start with the close-ups. Structuring your edit the other way around can focus the viewer onto details that are important, but can sometimes be read differently. These details are then placed within a wider context later in the edit as we move further and further back from the action itself. Rule 5. If you're ever in a jam or you're not quite sure how something's going to be in the edit, this rule will get you out of a number of scrapes. It's a simple mantra. Film the person, film the thing, then film the person and the thing. If you have these 3 shots, chances are you'll do alright in the edit. Rule 6. Now, Rule 6 involves 5 shots. This rule was devised to help TV journalists who are starting to shoot their own stories. You'll see it all the time in TV news once you're aware of its existence. It was in fact invented to help the editors who were finding it impossible to cut together what the journalists were giving them, because the journalists weren't editors. You don't have to edit it in any specific order, but having these shots should give you enough material to work with. Ensure that you shoot a close-up of the hands, a close-up of the face, show the hands and the face together, an over-the-shoulder shot, and finally, film a different 5th shot, something that gives you context from a different angle, such as a wider long shot, perhaps a cutaway to something different within the scene or location. Rule 7. Cutaways and B-roll. Always shoot plenty of other details or shots that show other parts of the scene. You can always add these later to cover points in your edit that don't quite line up. If you're introducing a new action, ensure you repeat the same rules you used before. Wide, medium, then close up. And finally, and it's especially important if you're filming a live event, film a master shot. A master shot shows the action from beginning to end. It's frequently a second or locked off camera, whilst the rest of the footage is being shot on your main camera that's being moved around, changing angle and location within the scene. The master locked off shot is typically a wide or extreme wide angle shot that is basically an establishing shot showing all the action from side to side. This shot gives you security within the edit. As if you have a moment where the footage on your main camera isn't usable for any reason, you were changing media, you missed the point that was important within the action, the master shot ensures you have full coverage from start to end. This is typically used in live events all the time, but can also be used as a way of ensuring you have coverage of a live performance of a dramatic scene. So never underestimate the power of the master shot and using a second camera. As we've already said, these are just rules and guidelines. They're kind of rules of thumb to help you structure your edits, and they're not something that you should be using without consideration. You should always be intelligently considering how you can best communicate the story within your project. However, sometimes having a little guidance to work from, a structure, a framework, can give you somewhere to build from, and will get rid of that blank page. So that's where these rules can sometimes come in handy. As always, I hope you found this video enjoyable and helpful, and we'll see you in the next one.